The moon, called Vega 4, was supposed to be a quiet place. It was small, rocky, and far from anything important. The Galactic Coalition used it as a supply point, nothing more. But that changed when the Kreth swarm arrived. The Kreth were not like other aliens. They shared one mind. When one Kreth saw something, all Kreth saw it. When one Kreth learned something, all Kreth knew it. They moved like water, flowing across planets and swallowing everything in their path. They had conquered 100 worlds, and they had never lost. 40,000 Kreth warriors landed on Vega 4 in a single night. Their ships darkened the sky like a black cloud. Their bodies covered the ground like a moving carpet of sharp legs and hard shells. They came to take the moon and kill everyone on it. Against this army stood 32 humans. Lieutenant Unipark watched the Kreth ships land from the observation window of the old bunker. She was 34 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been a soldier for 12 years, and she had seen many terrible things. But she had never seen anything like this. How many? Asked Sergeant Tae Kim. He stood behind her, his arms crossed over his chest. He was a big man with a calm face. Nothing seemed to scare him. Scanners say 40,000, Yuna replied. Maybe more. Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed, a short and bitter sound. And there are 32 of us. 32 of Earth's finest, Yuna said. She did not smile. The bunker was old and damaged. It had been built 50 years ago as a temporary shelter, and no one had bothered to fix it since then. The walls had cracks. The lights flickered. The heating system made strange noises, but it was the only protection they had. In the main room, the rest of the platoon prepared for battle. Corporal Hannah Lee checked the EMP grenades, counting them twice to make sure. Private Junebeek cleaned his rifle with shaking hands. He was only 19, the youngest in the group. This was his first real mission. Medic Sora Yoon organized her medical supplies on a metal table. She worked quickly and quietly, her face showing no emotion. She knew that soon she would have many patients. Lieutenant called Specialist Daecho from across the room. He was a thin man with glasses and messy hair. He was not a fighter. He was an engineer, the smartest person in the platoon. I need to talk to you. In private, Anna nodded and followed him to a small storage room. Day closed the door behind them and spoke in a low voice. I have an idea, he said, but you are not going to like it. Tell me anyway. Day took a deep breath. Do you know what a phase rift generator is? Yuna's eyes widened. That technology is banned. The Coalition made it illegal 200 years ago. Because it is dangerous. Because it is unpredictable. Because it once made an entire space station disappear. Day paused. But I know how to build one. Why are you telling me this? Because we cannot win this fight, Day said simply. We cannot run. We cannot hide. The Coalition has abandoned us. We are going to die here. He looked at her with serious eyes. Unless we do something impossible. Yuna was quiet for a long time. She thought about her soldiers. She thought about their families back on Earth. She thought about everything she had promised to protect. What exactly does this generator do? She asked. It opens a door to another dimension, Day explained. Everything within a certain distance gets pulled through, including us, including the Kreth. And then what? Day shrugged. I do not know. No one knows. The technology was banned before anyone could study it properly. We might die. We might end up somewhere else. Or we might simply stop existing. That is not a plan, Yuna said. That is suicide. Suicide is dying here and accomplishing nothing, Day replied. This way we take 40,000 enemies with us. We save the inner systems. We give the Coalition time to prepare. He met her eyes. This way, our deaths mean something. Yuna left the storage room without answering. She walked back to the main area where her soldiers waited. They all looked at her, waiting for orders. Waiting for hope she had none to give them. Listen to me, she said, her voice steady. Coalition Command has informed us that evacuation is not possible. The fleet has retreated to the inner systems. We are on our own. No one spoke. No one moved. The Kreth will attack within 18 hours, Yuna continued. They expect us to die quickly and quietly. They expect us to surrender or run. She looked at each of her soldiers, meeting their eyes one by one. But we are human, and humans do not die quietly. Sergeant Nario stepped forward. She was the platoon's tactician, a woman who could see patterns in chaos. What is the plan, Lieutenant? We hold this bunker, Yuna said. We make them pay for every meter they take. We make them bleed. She paused. And when they think they have one, when they commit all their forces to crush us, we show them something they have never seen before. What is that? Asked June, his young voice trembling slightly. Yuna almost smiled. Human stubbornness. The next few hours passed quickly. Everyone had a job to do. Tay organized the defenses, setting up barriers and weapon positions. Hannah planted explosives at key points around the bunker. Nari calculated the enemy's likely attack routes and planned their response in the basement. Day began building his impossible machine. Yuna found June alone in a corridor, staring at his rifle. She sat down next to him. First battle? She asked. He nodded. I always thought my first battle would be different. I thought we would have more soldiers, more ships, more chances. War is never what we expect, Yuna said. But that is not always bad. How can this be good? June asked. We are going to die. Maybe, Yuna admitted, but we get to choose how. We get to choose why. That is more than most people ever get. She put a hand on his shoulder. Being brave is not about not being scared. Being brave is being scared and fighting anyway. June looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly and stood up. I will not let you down, Lieutenant. I know you will not. As the hours counted down, the humans of the 77th Expeditionary Unit prepared for the impossible. They checked their weapons. They wrote messages to their families. They said quiet goodbyes to each other. Outside, the Kreth army gathered like a storm on the horizon. 40,000 warriors with one mind, one purpose, one certainty. The humans would fall. They did not understand what they were about to face. They did not understand that humans were the most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. They did not understand that 32 soldiers had decided that if they were going to die, they would make sure the galaxy remembered their names. The first Kreth scout appeared on the ridge at exactly 600 hours. The War 4. Vega 4 had begun. The basement of the bunker was dark and cold. Water dripped from the ceiling. Old pipes ran along the walls like metal veins. This was where Daicho built his machine. He worked with whatever he could find. Old power cells from broken vehicles. Wiring pulled from the walls. Computer parts that should have been thrown away years ago. The generator looked like a pile of garbage held together by hope and tape. But Day knew it would work. It had to work. Sora came down the stairs, carrying 2 cups of hot tea. She handed one to Day and sat on a broken crate nearby. Should sleep, she said. You have been working for 12 hours? I cannot sleep, Day replied, without looking up from his work. There is too much to do. If you collapse from exhaustion, you will not finish anything. Day finally stopped and looked at her. His eyes were red and tired. His hands were shaking slightly. Do you know what this machine does, Sora? It opens a door to another dimension. Everyone has heard the rumors. It does more than that. He set down his tools and rubbed his face. It tears a hole in reality itself. Everything within 2 kilometers gets pulled through. Not just moved, but completely removed from this universe. The Coalition banned it because 300 researchers died testing the first prototype. They just vanished. No bodies. No signals. Nothing. Sora was quiet for a moment. And you want us to use this thing? I want us to have a choice, Day said. Right now, we have none. We can fight and die, or we can surrender and die. The Kreth do not take prisoners. They just eat you and move on. He looked at the half-finished machine. This gives us a third option. We might die, yes. But we take 40,000 enemies with us. We save millions of lives in the inner systems. That is a big responsibility. That is why I brought it to Lieutenant Park. The decision is hers, not mine. Spurs Yuna was making her own preparations. She stood over a table covered with maps and data screens. Nari stood beside her, pointing at different locations. The Kreth will come from the east first, Nari explained. The ground is flattest there. They will test our defenses with a small force, maybe 500 warriors. When they see we are weak, they will send more. How long until the full assault? Yuna asked. 18 hours for the first wave? 12 more hours for the second. The third wave will come when they decide to finish us. My guess is 48 hours from now. Yuna nodded slowly. That is when we activate the generator. If Day finishes it in time, he will. Yuna looked at the map again. We need to make them believe we are getting weaker. We need to pull back slowly, let them think they are winning. If they suspect a trap, they might not commit all their forces. Nari smiled grimly. So we pretend to lose while actually losing. That should not be difficult. The difficult part is surviving long enough to spring the trap. In the weapons room, Tay gathered the soldiers for a meeting. Everyone was there except Day, who was still working in the basement. Listen carefully, Tay said, his deep voice filling the room. The lieutenant has a plan. I am not going to lie to you about what it involves. We are going to fight the hardest battle of our lives. Many of us will die. Maybe all of us. No one spoke. No one looked away. But we are not dying for nothing, Tay continued. We are dying to take an entire army with us. We are dying to save Earth and every other human colony in this galaxy. We are dying so that our children and grandchildren can live in a universe without the Kreth. Hannah raised her hand. What exactly is the plan, Sergeant? We hold this bunker for as long as possible. We make them bleed for every room, every corridor, every meter of ground. Then, when they surround us completely, when they think victory is certain, we activate a device that will send all of us somewhere else. Somewhere else, repeated Corporal Suji Kong. She was a tough woman with scars on her face and arms. She had survived battles that killed everyone else around her. What does that mean? It means another dimension. Another reality. We do not know exactly where. We might die instantly. We might end up somewhere strange. The point is, the Kreth come with us. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. There would be no rescue. No medals. No return to Earth. This was a one-way trip. June was the first to speak. I am with you, he said quietly. If this is how I die, then at least it means something. One by one, the others nodded. Bin Han, Suji Kong, Wu Jin. Every single soldier in the room, Tay felt something warm in his chest. Pride, perhaps. Or gratitude. Thank you, he said. All of you. Now get some rest. Tomorrow, we fight. That night, no one really slept. Some wrote letters to their families, even though they knew those letters might never be delivered. Some checked their weapons again and again. Some simply sat in silence. Thinking about everything they would leave behind, Yuna walked through the bunker, checking on her soldiers. She found Bin Han sitting alone near a window, looking at the stars. Beautiful night, she said. I used to hate looking at stars, Bin replied. They reminded me how small I am, how small we all are. He paused. But now they look different. They look like hope. Hope. Every star is a sun. Every sun might have planets. Every planet might have people looking up at the same sky, wondering the same things. Bin smiled sadly. We are small, but we are not alone. And what we do tomorrow will protect all of them. Yuna put a hand on his shoulder. Get some sleep, Private. You will need your strength. Yes, Lieutenant. In the basement, Dave finally finished the generator. It was an ugly thing, all sharp edges and exposed wires, but when he pressed the test button, the machine hummed with power. The lights in the bunker flickered. The air felt strange, heavy and electric. It works, Day whispered to himself. It actually works. He climbed the stairs to find Yuna waiting for him. Is it ready? She asked. Yes, but I need to warn you about something. What? The range is larger than I expected. About 2.5 kilometers instead of 2? That means we need to make sure all the Kreth are inside that radius before we activate it. If even one group stays outside, they survive. Yuna thought about this. Can you adjust the timing? Make it activate remotely instead of manually. No. Someone has to press the button. Someone has to stay with the machine until the last moment. They paused. I will do it. This is my creation. My responsibility. We will decide that later, Yuna said. For now, get some rest. You have done your part, Lieutenant. Ade stopped her before she could leave. Do you think there is anything on the other side? Where we are going? I do not know, Yuna admitted. But if there is, I am glad I will face it with people like you. Outside the bunker, the Kreth army waited in the darkness. 40,000 minds connected as one, planning the destruction of the tiny human force. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had never been defeated. They did not know that tomorrow would change everything. They did not know that. 32 humans had built a door to somewhere else, and they did not know that those humans planned to drag the entire Kreth army. Through it, the dawn came slowly, painting the rocky landscape in shades of red and orange. It was beautiful, in a terrible way. It looked like the world was already on fire. The first Kreth wave began to move. The battle had begun. The first wave of Kreth came across the eastern ridge like a black river. 500 of them, moving fast on their 6 legs, their hard shells reflecting the morning light. Their mouths clicked and snapped, making sounds that would give anyone nightmares. Tay watched them through his rifle scope. Wait for it, he said into the radio. Let them get closer. The Kreth were confident. They had seen the size of the human force. They knew the bunker was old and damaged. They expected an easy victory. A quick meal. Nothing more. They were wrong. Now, Tay said, the first line of mines exploded. 50 Kreth vanished in fire and smoke. The others did not slow down. They climbed over the bodies of their fallen brothers and kept coming. The hive mind felt no fear. It felt no loss. Each dead warrior was simply removed from the collective, their memories absorbed, their experiences saved. Hannah triggered the second line of explosives. More Kreth fell. Still, they came. Open fire, Yuna ordered. 32 rifles cracked the air at once. The humans had positioned themselves at windows and doorways, each one covering a different angle. They fired in controlled bursts, making every bullet count. They could not afford to waste ammunition. Bin Han was at the front entrance, his rifle hot in his hands. A Kreth warrior appeared in the doorway, its claws reaching for him. He shot it in the head, then shot the one behind it. A third one grabbed his rifle and tried to pull it away. Bin let go, pulled his knife, and drove it into the creature's eye. They are in the building, someone shouted. The fighting became close and brutal. Humans and Kreth struggled in the narrow corridors. Suji Kong used her shotgun until it ran empty, then used it as a club. Wu Jin threw chemicals at the attackers, making them scream and fall back. By noon, the first wave was finished. Over 400 Kreth lay dead around the bunker. The humans had lost 3 soldiers. Collect the weapons and ammunition, Yuna ordered. Check the wounded. We have 12 hours before the next wave. Sora worked without stopping. She stitched cuts, bandaged burns, and gave painkillers to those who needed them. Her hands were covered in blood, but her face remained calm. She had seen worse. She would see worse again. How bad is it? Yuna asked her quietly. 7 wounded, 3 serious. We can keep them fighting, but they will not last long. Make them comfortable. That is all we can do. The second wave came at midnight. 2,000 Kreth, this time, coming from 3 directions. They had learned from the first attack. They knew where the mines were. They knew where the humans were strong and where they were weak. But humans learned. Hannah had moved the remaining mines to new positions. The Kreth walked right into them. Explosions lit up the night like festival lights, turning warriors into pieces. They are trying to get to the basement, Nari reported. They are digging under the bunker. Wu Jin, Yuna called. Do something about that. Woojin ran to the basement with tanks of coolant gas. He found the tunnels the Kreth were digging and flooded them with the freezing chemical. The creatures inside turned to ice, their bodies cracking in the sudden cold. Tunnels blocked, he reported. But they will try again. The battle lasted until dawn. The Kreth threw everything at the bunker, wave after wave of sharp claws and hungry mouths. The humans held their ground. They fought in doorways and corridors, on rooftops and in basements. They fought until their rifles jammed and their knives broke. When the sun rose, over 1,500 Kreth were dead. The humans had lost 8 more soldiers. 20-1 remained. They will come with everything now, Nari said, looking at her calculations. The hive mind knows we are stronger than expected. It will not take any more chances. The third wave will be the full army. Good, Yuna said. That is exactly what we want. The next 20 hours were quiet. The Kreth pulled back, gathering their forces for the final attack. The humans used the time to rest, eat, and prepare. June sat with Binhan, sharing a meal of military rations. The food was cold and tasteless, but neither of them complained. I never thought I would die on a moon I had never heard of, June said. No one chooses where they die, Ben replied. But we can choose how. We can choose why. He looked at the young soldier. You did well today. I saw you fighting at the north entrance. You saved 3 people. I was scared the whole time. So was I. So was everyone. Bin smiled. Courage is not about not being afraid. It is about fighting anyway. In the basement, Day checked the generator one final time. Everything was ready. The machine hummed quietly, waiting to be activated. Waiting to tear a hole in the universe? Yuna came down to see him. How long after you press the button? 30 seconds, Day said. The field builds slowly, then expands all at once. Everyone within 2.5 kilometers will be pulled through. And you are sure it will work? I am sure the device will activate. What happens after that? Shook his head. No one knows. Yuna looked at the machine for a long moment. Thank you, Day, for giving us this chance. Thank me on the other side, if there is one. The third wave came with the setting sun. The entire Kreth army moved at once, a black tide of 40,000 warriors covering the landscape. The ground shook with their steps. The air filled with their clicking and screaming. The humans watched them come. This is it, Tay said. Everyone to your positions. We hold until they are all inside the radius. The fighting was unlike anything before. The Kreth crashed against the bunker like ocean waves against a rock. They broke through walls and doors. They climbed over their own dead to reach the humans inside. Suji Kong held the main corridor with nothing but a metal pipe. She killed 17 Kreth before a claw finally caught her arm. She killed 2 more before falling. Binhan carried wounded soldiers to safety while firing his pistol with one hand. When the pistol ran empty, he threw it at an enemy and picked up a Kreth weapon instead. Hannah detonated her last explosives, bringing down an entire section of roof on hundreds of attackers. She was buried in the collapse, but her sacrifice bought precious minutes. One by one, the humans fell back. One by one, they gathered in the center of the bunker, around the entrance to the basement. 14 soldiers remained, all of them wounded, all of them exhausted. Around them, the Kreth army pressed closer. Thousands of warriors, surrounding them completely. Every exit was blocked. Every hope was gone, except one. Yuna looked at her soldiers. At Tay, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. At June, whose fear had become iron determination. At Nari, Sora, Wu Jin, and every brave soul who had chosen to stand with her. It is time, she said. They moved down the stairs to the basement, where Day waited beside his machine. The generator hummed louder now, eager to fulfill its purpose. Above them, the Kreth poured into the bunker. Certain of victory, they did not know they had walked into a trap. They did not know that in 30 seconds, they would all disappear. And they did not know that 14 humans had decided to take them along for the ride. Yuna put her hand on the activation button. See you on the other side, she said. and pressed it. The moment Yuna pressed the button, everything changed, the generator screamed. Not a mechanical sound, but something deeper, something that seemed to come from the fabric of reality itself. The walls of the basement began to shake. The lights exploded, leaving only the strange blue glow of the machine. Above them, the Kreth stopped moving. For the first time in their existence as a hive mind, they felt something they did not understand. Fear. Pure, individual fear. The connection between them began to break. One by one, 40,000 minds that had always been together suddenly became alone. Warriors who had never had a single thought of their own were suddenly drowning in silence. They screamed, not in anger or hunger, but in confusion and terror. The sky above Vegafor began to twist. The stars stretched into long lines of light. The ground cracked open, not from physical force, but from the very space beneath it, coming apart. In the basement, Day watched his creation with wide eyes. "It is working," he whispered. "It is actually working. Hold on to something," Tay shouted. But there was nothing to hold on to. The world itself was folding, bending, breaking. The basement walls disappeared. The ceiling vanished. The humans found themselves floating in a space that was neither up nor down, neither light nor dark. Yuna tried to see her soldiers, but her eyes could not focus. Everything was moving, changing, becoming something else. She felt her body being pulled in 1,000 directions at once. She felt pain, then nothing, then everything. And then there was light. Bright. White, endless light. When Yuna opened her eyes again, she was lying on her back. Above her was a sky she did not recognize. It was purple, with 3 small suns hanging low on the horizon. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. She sat up slowly, her body aching in places she did not know could ache. Around her lay the remains of the bunker, scattered across a landscape of gray sand and twisted rock formations. Strange plants with blue leaves grew between the stones. "Lieutenant," someone called. She turned to see Tay walking toward her. His uniform was torn and bloody, but he was alive. Behind him came the others. June, Nari, Sora, Wu Jin. More figures emerged from the wreckage, some walking, some crawling, some carrying others. "How many?" Yuna asked, her voice rough. 14 of us came through. 12 are still alive." Tay paused. "We lost Suji and Private Han in the transition." Yuna closed her eyes for a moment. 14 had entered the rift. 12 remained. It was better than she had expected, but every loss hurt. And the Kreth. Tay pointed to the horizon. "See for yourself." Yuna looked and felt her breath catch. Spread across the alien landscape, as far as she could see, were the bodies of Kreth warriors. Thousands upon thousands of them, lying motionless on the gray sand. Some were completely still. Others were moving weakly, their legs twitching, their mouths opening and closing without sound. The transition broke their hive mind completely, Day explained, coming to stand beside her. They were never designed to exist as individuals. Without the connection, their minds are falling apart. Most of them are already dead. The rest will follow soon. Yuna walked toward the nearest Kreth body. The creature was still alive, its eyes following her movement. But there was something different in those eyes now. Something she had never seen in a Kreth before. Understanding, the creature made a sound, low and quiet. It was not the clicking of the hive mind. It was something almost like a word, almost like a question. "It is asking why," Sora said, joining them. "It does not understand what happened to it. For the first time in its existence, it is alone. And it does not know how to be alone. Can we help them?" June asked. "No," Day said quietly. "Their biology depends on the hive connection. Without it, their bodies will shut down within hours. There is nothing anyone can do." Yuna looked at the dying Kreth, then at the field of bodies stretching to the horizon. 40,000 warriors, the pride of the swarm, reduced to confused and dying individuals. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like something else. Something sadder, Where are we? Nari asked, changing the subject. She was looking at the strange sky, the unfamiliar stars, the three suns that gave off light but little heat. Another dimension, Day said. Another reality. The generator pushed us through a crack in space itself. We are somewhere that is not our universe. Can we get back? Day was quiet for a long moment. I do not know. The generator was destroyed in the transition. Even if I could build another one, I would need materials and tools that do not exist in this place. So we are stuck here, Tay said. Maybe, maybe not. Day looked at the wreckage of the bunker. There might be pieces of the generator that survived. If I can find enough of them, if I can understand how the transition worked, maybe I can find a way to reverse it. How long would that take? Months? Years? I do not know. Day shrugged. But it is not like we have other plans. The surviving humans gathered in a circle. 12 soldiers in a strange world, with no supplies, no support, and no certainty of ever returning home. They should have been afraid. They should have been hopeless. But they were human. All right, Yuna said. Here is what we do. First, we search the wreckage for anything useful. Food, water, weapons, tools. Second, we find shelter. Those rock formations might provide protection from the wind. Third, we figure out what kind of world this is. What can we eat? What might try to eat us? And the Kreth? Asked Wu Jin, gesturing to the dying creatures around them.
I leave them.
They are not our enemies anymore. They are just victims of the same event that brought us here. The soldiers began to move, spreading out across the wreckage. They worked in pairs, helping each other search through the broken pieces of the bunker. Sora tended to the wounded, while Day collected pieces of his destroyed generator. June found a storage container that had survived the transition. Inside were emergency rations, medical supplies, and a communication device. The device was damaged, but its power cell was intact. Lieutenant, he called. I found something. Yuna examined the device. It was a standard military transmitter, designed to send signals across vast distances. In their own universe, it could reach any coalition ship within 100 light-years. Can you fix it? She asked Day. He studied the damage carefully. Maybe the main circuit is broken, but I might be able to work around it. The question is, who would receive the signal? We are not in our universe anymore. Fix it anyway, Yuna said. If there is even a small chance that someone could hear us, we take it. As the suns began to set, painting the purple sky in shades of gold and red, the humans made camp among the rocks. They built fires from strange blue plants that burned with green flames. They ate their rations in silence, each person lost in their own thoughts. Tay sat next to Yuna, looking at the stars that were appearing in the darkening sky. Do you think anyone knows what happened to us? The coalition will send scouts eventually, Yuna said. They will find an empty crater where the bunker used to be. They will assume we all died. Heroes of the war, Tay said with a sad smile. The platoon that sacrificed everything. We are not dead yet, Yuna replied. And as long as we are alive, we keep fighting. We keep trying. That is what humans do. She looked at her soldiers, gathered around their small fires in this alien world. They were tired, wounded, lost in a place that should not exist. But they were still together, still fighting, and somewhere, somehow, she was going to find a way to bring them home. She just needed time and maybe a miracle. 3 days after the Battle of Vega 4, the coalition scout ships finally arrived. They expected to find a battlefield covered with human bodies and Kreth warriors celebrating their victory. They expected to begin the painful work of identifying the dead. They found neither commander. Yellow of the Stellar Alliance stood at the edge of a perfect crater. It was 2.5 kilometers wide, cut into the moon's surface like someone had scooped out the rock with a giant spoon. The edges were smooth, almost polished. Inside the crater, there was nothing. No bodies. No wreckage. No sign that anything had ever existed there. What happened here? Yellow asked, his blue skin turning pale with confusion. His science officer. A four-armed creature named Keva studied the readings on her device. Unknown energy signature, Commander. The sensors detect traces of dimensional displacement, but nothing like we have ever recorded before. Dimensional displacement? You mean they went somewhere else? They went somewhere else, Commander. All of them. The humans, the Kreth, the bunker, even the rock beneath it. Everything within this radius simply stopped existing in our universe. Yellow looked at the crater in silence. He had commanded ships for 60 years. He had seen wars begin and end. He had watched species rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like this. Kreth invasion force, he said slowly. All 40,000 of them. They are gone? Yes, Commander. Every single one. And the humans. The 32 soldiers who were supposed to delay them? Keva checked her readings again. Also gone? No bodies, no remains. They disappeared along with everything else. Yellow thought about this for a long moment. The Coalition had sent those humans to die. They had called it a delaying action, but everyone knew the truth. It was a sacrifice. 32 lives traded for time, but somehow those 32 humans had done something impossible. They had not just died fighting. They had taken an entire army with them. They had removed 40,000 enemy warriors from the war in a single moment. Send a report to Coalition Command, Yellow ordered. Tell them the invasion of Vega 4 has been stopped. Tell them the Kreth swarm has suffered losses it may never recover from. He paused. And tell them that the 77th Expeditionary Unit gave their lives in service of the galaxy. The news spread quickly. Within days, everyone in the Coalition knew about the human platoon that had disappeared. Some called them heroes. Some called them crazy. Some refused to believe it had happened at all. But the Kreth knew the truth. The swarm had lost 40,000 warriors in an instant. More importantly, it had lost something it had never lost before: certainty. The hive mind now carried memories of fear, of disconnection, of individual consciousness. These memories spread through the collective like a disease, weakening it from within. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Kreth stopped expanding. They pulled back their forces. They became cautious, uncertain. They had encountered something they could not understand, and it terrified them. On Earth, memorials were built. In New Sol, a wall of stone was raised with 32 names carved into its surface. Every year on the anniversary of the battle, people came to lay flowers and remember Yuna. Park, Take Him, Hannah Lee, June Beek, Day. Cho, Sora, Yunari, O, Binhan, Sujikong, Wu, Jin, and 22 others who had chosen to stand against the impossible. Families mourned. Children grew up hearing stories of their parents' bravery. The 77th became a legend. A story told in military academies across human space. But in a classified section of Coalition archives, something strange was recorded. 14 months after the battle, a deep space antenna on the edge of known territory picked up a signal. It was weak, broken, barely readable. The technicians who received it thought it was just noise at first, interference from a distant star, but when they cleaned up the signal and translated it, they found something extraordinary. It was a human transmission. The voice was tired and rough, filled with static and gaps. But the words were clear enough. This is Lieutenant Una Park of the 77th Expeditionary Unit. We are alive. 12 of us survived the transition. We are in an unknown dimension. Location, uncertain. The enemy has been neutralized. I repeat, the enemy has been neutralized. A pause. Static. Then the voice continued. We have found a way to send this message through a crack in dimensional space. We do not know if anyone can hear us. We do not know how long we have been gone. Time moves differently here. Another pause. In the background, other voices could be heard. People talking, working, living. If this message reaches Coalition Command, please inform our families that we are alive. We are finding our way back. It may take time. It may take years. But we are coming home. The signal ended with 8 words that made the technician's heart stop. Platoon 77 still operational. Enemy engaged. Park out. The message was immediately classified. Coalition leaders debated what to do with it. Some wanted to announce it to the galaxy. Others worried it was a trick, a false hope created by the Kreth to confuse humanity. But the signal was real. The voice was real. And somewhere, in a place that should not exist, 12 humans were still fighting. In the other dimension, time had indeed moved strangely. What felt like 14 months to the Coalition had been nearly 3 years for the survivors. 3 years of struggle, discovery, and survival. They had built a camp among the rocks. They had found water in underground rivers. They had learned which plants were safe to eat and which ones would kill them. They had encountered strange creatures, some dangerous, some friendly, all fascinating. Day had never stopped working on a way home. He had collected pieces of the generator, studied the dimensional cracks that sometimes appeared in the sky, and slowly built something new. It was not a complete solution, but it was a start. June, who had entered the battle as a scared young private, had become one of the strongest soldiers in the group. He led hunting parties and scouted new territories. The fear was still there, but he had learned to live with it. Sora had become more than a medic. In a world with no hospitals and no supplies, she had learned to use alien plants for medicine. She had saved lives that should have been lost. Tay remained steady, the rock everyone else leaned on. He organized the camp, settled disputes, and kept morale from falling too low. When people felt hopeless, he reminded them who they were, and Yuna led them all. She made the hard decisions. She planned for the future. She never let anyone forget that they would see Earth again. On the night they sent the message through the dimensional crack, the survivors gathered around their fire. The 3 suns had set, and the strange stars filled the purple sky. It was beautiful in a way their own universe never was. "Do you think they heard us?" June asked. "I do not know," Yuna admitted. "But we had to try. And if they did not? If no one is listening?" Yuna looked at her soldiers, at the family they had become through fire and loss and survival. She smiled, a rare and precious thing. "Then we keep going," she said. "We keep surviving. We keep moving forward. And one day, we walk back into our own universe and show them what humans can do." Somewhere in the Coalition, the families of the 77th had started to hope again. Somewhere in the Kreth swarm, the memory of fear continued to spread. Somewhere between dimensions, 12 humans refused to give up. They had disappeared from the galaxy, but they had taken the enemy with them. And one day, they would return. The galaxy just had to wait.